All right, apologies on the delay. Let me know how that YouTube is looking and sounding, if anybody can. So I know this computer, there's been a problem, but I thought I kind of had it figured out. I could use some feedback, because then I think maybe then the sound wasn't acting right again. I'm not sure. So I think I have all the settings set properly this time around, where it should be good sound, good visual quality in both the VTF and in the YouTube. Took a lot of experimenting to kind of get to this point. So I hope it's all acting correctly. Anyway, I am an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker dealer and member of Pacific. All my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group, and you should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. Um, Position disclosure here. I I cleared out of that pins kind of into the close, a little bit before the close. Great move on that, and I got out of the apron again. Um, the apron just kind of continues to pay me. It's just been pretty ridiculous actually how well that thing's been paying. Let's um, let's jump into it. So I was looking for a bounce day today. I kind of made that clear in the morning meeting. The only thing that was a concern to me was that maybe the market wouldn't want to participate right in front of Jackson Hole. And I do miss Jackson, by the way. I can't wait to get back out to Jackson, Wyoming, Victor Driggs, Idaho area where I've been living these days. But I'm not there. I'm in New York where it's stuffy. So we were looking for a bounce day today. Again, the concerns were the potential of de-risking in front of Jackson and the potential of just a sideways nothing day, similar to what we saw the last couple of days in front of Jackson. But it didn't happen. We had a nice little relief rally today. Going to be interesting because my thought process coming into this morning, especially if we have like another flat day, everyone's expecting Powell to be more hawkish tomorrow. So, and for obvious reasons, right? Everyone's talking about like, oh my gosh, look at what this stock market move has just done. Look at how big the rally has just been. He didn't mean for this to happen. This is terrible for inflation, positive wealth effect, all that jazz. So everyone seems to be expecting that he's going to come out and be more hawkish and try to help bring this market back down. And we've seen that a lot this year, right? Whenever this market starts acting really strong, your Fed members seem to speak significantly more hawkish. And then when the market gets too beaten up, they start to act a little bit more dovish. We've spoken about it on occasion, probably every couple of weeks for the last several months. Probably the most ideal thing that the Fed would want would be like a sideways market kind of down here, stuck in a tight range, while they hope that inflation kind of works itself out over time. So everyone's expecting them to be hawkish, but then if everyone's expecting them to be hawkish, how much of that's actually priced into the market? I don't know. We've had a little, I don't know what the exact percentage pullback is, but when markets hit highs on this day, I was calling for like a 3 to 5% pullback. Originally, I was thinking the 415 to 420 area. They overshot that a little bit. 410 is still kind of holding a support. I appreciate that, JD. 410 area is still kind of holding the support. We really said that's a line in the sand that the market needs to hold. I was looking for a bounce 2 trading sessions ago. It didn't happen, but we've had some good oil trades over the course of the last couple of days and focused on relative strength. And then I thought today, we had that big gap up this morning on the German GDP number, and they really faded that gap back down in a large way. But it was still, the market was still set to kind of give us a common gap up, like maybe 0.4%. But pre-market, I'll just go to the pre-market chart. Pre-market, we were at like 418 and change. We were set to open up really big this morning, and we drifted all the way down. By the time the market opened, especially if you include the first 5 minute bar of the day, we almost got to flat. Just for this market to have a really solid turnaround intraday, followed by a big pullback, like a concerning pullback, actually. I remember watching this pullback, and when we really kind of started breaching this 21 EMA on the 5 minute chart, I was like, oh, this pullback is much deeper than it should be, but we didn't fully break lows, went sideways, and then we had kind of an incredibly strong rally into the close. So, yeah, pretty volatile trading session, but at the end of the day, I kind of got what I was looking for. The intraday price action I thought was a little tricky, finding the relative strength and relative weakness. We discussed in the morning meeting with these energy names, which gave us a couple of great trades here, first on the 18th and then on the 23rd, and hopefully traders are just still long them from a swing basis and continuing to get paid. I mentioned that these are probably a little bit too extended to continue to chase at these prices. They kind of need to reset up. But I was still looking to see if some of these growth names could bounce back a little bit. Maybe some of these FANG names could bounce back a little bit. The problem with like an Apple was that it gapped up so big it made the execution a little bit difficult. Amazon, I had some coming into today. I was able to buy a little bit more, so Amazon was kind of decent for me. Google actually turned out to be one of the stronger ones, so that worked out okay. I was looking for bounce backs in some of these growth stocks as well, and that was a little bit of a mixed bag. I wanted to see if Shopify could bounce back a little bit further. It was trading kind of okay when it broke back above 34, which I was talking about intraday. So if this thing can get back above 34, it'll start looking good. It traded okay for a little bit, and then this price action got super sloppy on it. SoFi was a big disappointment for me. This was more of like a thesis probably than a technical trade, so you always got to be a little bit careful with that. But it gave an inside day. So the thesis, I guess, is still in play, and it now has an inside day, or maybe we can continue to watch this tomorrow if it's breaking above the inside day high. But someone was dumping SoFi this morning. And you had some analysts come out and support this thing. I'm bullish on the direction in which SoFi is moving with the student loan. It kind of made my thesis clear. That's really what it was. It's more of a thesis type of trade, especially the big gap up yesterday. The price action wasn't great. But then the analysts were coming out and defending it. I thought that maybe this thing could go on like the second day here when market participants had more time to kind of digest the information. So I had bought some pre-market. I was using yesterday's low as my stop loss. So I never got pushed out of it, fortunately, by a few cents here. But it also never really triggered or really gave me what I wanted to see in order to get like very, very heavy in it. And really what it needed to do was get above yesterday's high. It wasn't even close. It was super relatively weak off the open. So that kind of just turned out to be a disappointment. Again, it was more like a thesis idea than probably a specific trade. It turned into just nothing, and I, kind of liquidated some of my stock that I bought today into the close at more or less break even, maybe slightly better than break even. So that turned out to be nothing to write home about. Pins was an absolute monster, and from very early, it's a good bullish option flow, a little bit of news intraday. So this was a big winner. I know a couple people were involved in this, a couple people caught it. So, awesome job for those who ran it. I liquidated my pins position, a little bit before the close. It was just such a sick run. Looks like it's trading up even more after hours. But I'm not upset. I'll look to revisit it. Big fan of the company. Big fan of what they're doing at this price point. Pat's pretty bullish on it also. So that turned out to be a solid one. I don't think if there was anything else. Financials were super strong. What about bringing financials up on the radar for the team pre-market this morning? It didn't. So I ended up not being really involved in these. But we were able to recognize the relative strength very fast in these this morning. I don't know, with that said, I don't know if anybody actually traded them or were involved in them because they weren't specifically kind of brought up in the morning meeting. I think that's it. We looked at a few earnings names. We talked about Snow as one to pay attention to. Thought 180 would be a really good spot to be long versus if you get stock versus 180. Sounded like a few of you guys traded it successfully on the intraday chart. So not too bad there for kind of a Snow trade. This Abercrombie and Finch, they ended up selling it back off. I remember looking at this when Rock brought it up on the gap fill. Like, this opening move in this was insane. I think this earnings report was actually pretty poor. But how can I forget to talk about semis? I avoided semis, as was my game plan, so I can't be upset about missing the move. But one of the best callouts I think of the day was at like 9:29 and 30 seconds when Nick H brought up. I'd love to hear your thought process on it, Mark, because I was just kind of reading things on a surface level. based on what I perceived was a not so fantastic earnings report on that NVIDIA. But one of the best quotes of the day was when Nick H brought up Global Foundries right at the open, or like literally, oh, gotcha. Thanks, Mark. um, this GFS here, like again, 30 seconds before the open, he brought this up as an inside and up there. If these could wake up, if the semis could wake up a little bit, I thought that Micron actually looked really good on the daily chart for a bounce back today. But I decided I wanted to stay away from these because the NVIDIA was just very confusing to me. I mentioned it in the morning meeting. I thought that NVIDIA's report was honestly trash. But you could tell that something wasn't right. So my inclination on this, like I said in the morning meeting, would be to short it. But based on the fact that it was basically trading like flat or maybe down very, very small pre-market, it just seemed to me like something was wrong. Like the stock should have, I thought, traded into the 150s on that earnings report, kind of missing across the board. Like it was very difficult to pull out anything that looked even remotely positive in that NVIDIA earnings report. And again, I didn't dive too deep. I don't know if they said anything on the earnings call, but I didn't see like a new buyback announced or anything that could help counter what was a perceived solid miss on the numbers. But it's like I always say, and I think it's a good trading principle to remember. If something should be happening and it's not, it's potentially a signal for the opposite direction. So like I said in the morning meeting, I was like, I think this thing should be trading in the 150s. I don't understand why it's at like 170 or whatever and like barely red. And because of that, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing hit 175 today. Lo and behold, we basically went. Not only did we hit 175, we beasted past that, 179.50 into the close. So everybody turned into a sick move. I don't understand it. I really thought that those numbers were trash. We've seen a lot of not great earnings reports get bought up this earnings season. And that was one of the things that we actually expected coming into this earnings season. And I remember like a week or two ago telling you guys that data, that interesting data that I read, that basically said that in a traditional earnings season, companies that miss on earnings are down 2.5%. And a couple weeks ago, I think the data point was that companies that are missing on earnings are up 1%. And again, we expected that because the expectations coming into this earnings season were just so poor. But I'm surprised that we're still seeing that. It's still seeing a reaction from NVIDIA off of numbers like that after the market's given the rally that it's given on the big picture. The market's just so far off of its lows in a lot of ways from a lot of earnings reports that as we get into the very, very end of earnings season here, I would almost expect that effect to not be working in the same way. But it was. I mean, you could even, again, look at Abercrombie. You're like, I thought this earnings report was terrible. I looked at this A&F report. I was like, all right, just another retailer that's going to work its way down to zero. Like, does anyone here wear or shop at Abercrombie and Fitch? Like, I feel like it's like not even a real company anymore. So that report looked terrible. I'm like, all right, gapping down to like new lows here on the daily chart. Like, I'll see it's zero. And I don't really follow this company too closely. Yeah, exactly. The 90s I remember when that crazy pop band came out with that I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch song. Like that's like the last time I've seen anybody wearing this product. And they like this is another one, just a terrible earnings report. Look at how this thing traded. NVIDIA, like unbelievable. What percentage does this thing close up on today? Almost 4%. So super impressive. So I hope everyone was at least able to avoid the damage of being short this. Because that's what I was saying to you guys. Like my inclination would be to short this thing. The price action is not confirming that. So I'm just going to totally stay away from semis. And I did. And I don't mind that I missed the up move. I don't mind that I missed the up move from Micron, even though I did like kind of a daily setup for a bounce on there coming into today. And I still think that GFS that got called out into the VTF at like literally 9:29 and 30 seconds was one of the best calls of the day. If anybody was actually able to get it through the inside day high yesterday, through this like 61.36 or whatever it is. Really, really solid. So, yeah, decent P&L day for me personally, but I don't think that there was anything to like actually be super excited about as far as like, the trading setups that I was looking for. If anything, I was very disappointed on SoFi. SoFi had the potential to be a massive winner for me today, and it just never confirmed the price action. The price action never confirmed the thesis. So there's nothing to write home about. It couldn't even perform with the market. Is really disappointment. Like all I needed, the market was so strong today. Like I thought, all I needed was for SoFi to do what the market was doing, and I thought that could have been a monster trade, or it would have been a monster trade. But it just totally underperformed, and we were able to recognize that pretty quickly. So I think that is all I got for you guys. Happy to. No, numbers all came in worse than expected, like across the board from the video, from what I saw. So happy to answer any questions that you guys have. So I'll scroll up here into the VTF. Sorry to hear that, Brant. First real question I'm seeing, I think, is from Chinggis. I have noticed that past few days there are a lot of volatility in the first couple of hours of the day session for the market and some select stocks as the price rips higher and extends than to just go back down. I understand that it's a lack of liquidity and other market dynamics that Pat mentioned in the morning note, which are fantastic, by the way. They sure are. Is there any correlation of that price movement with where the price is on the daily 30, 15-minute chart or anticipation of economic news? Yeah, I don't know. We know we're dealing in a lower liquidity, looser market environment right now, especially since OPEX expired. That loosened up the market. I think the exact term that we read was the market was unclenched after the options expiration from Friday last week. So I don't know. Not surprised to see some of that kind of intraday volatility coming in and out. Sorry, I just got filled on something. But I would always be cautious on overreading the intraday price action. I would always be very cautious on overreading the intraday price action, midday especially. Your opening price action is always going to kind of be that price discovery period. I've always found like 11 to 2 to be very difficult, and like I've said in the past, all of our statistics show that our traders their performance is the worst between 11 and 2. That is where traders are generally giving back money, giving back profits, doing boredom trades. So I'd be very cautious on just overreading this midday price action. It's a loose market. I did think that this pullback was like kind of too much based on the degree to which we pulled back. I didn't expect this close. When I saw this pullback come in, I was like, okay, we got the bounce that I was looking for. We worked our way up almost to 418, almost to those pre-market highs. That's what I was looking for from today. And now they're just going to take us all the way back down because they're just going to wait for Jackson. That's what I was thinking when we pulled back as deep as we did. I really, at that point, was not expecting new highs to come in, and they did. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit of a looser market. It's a lower liquidity market, and you got to be cautious, I think, especially with the midday price action. So, that's about as good of an answer as I can kind of give you there, Chinggis. I hope it helps. From Austin, from my research last night, I was looking at TSM and MU. What stopped me from taking TSM and MU off the open was NVIDIA earnings, and also what the market was doing at the time. They ended up working without me. Was I being too cautious? Maybe. So, I mean, again, for me, for my game plan, it was specifically to not trade the semis today because I found that NVIDIA earnings report coupled with the price action to just be very confusing. So I just kind of decided I didn't want to be involved in them. So if that was your game plan, if that was your thought process, hey, I'm not going to be involved in these because I don't like the mixed message I'm getting from the price action versus the NVIDIA report, then I think that you did a great job. But the opposite's also true. If you said, hey, I believe that these things can work their way higher, like whatever, I don't care about the NVIDIA report or whatever your thought process is, I've got a specific trade that I'm looking for where I want to be involved in these, then you need to be in them because you did the research and you had a game plan. and you didn't follow your game plan, and that's no good. So it really depends on what your game plan and thought process was for it. I mean, I will say, because I say it all the time, I really don't like TSM as a trading vehicle. Um, it's kind of the ADR status and how it's gappy, and I think this one in particular has the most amount of risk for a Taiwan situation for obvious reasons compared to even the entire market. So I really don't like going to Taiwan Semiconductors, but Micron loved the daily chart coming into this today for a bounce. The bounce was massive. You know, if it's starting to go, you know, maybe you need some sort of price confirmation. I don't know if you could have found anything intraday. Nice little inside 5 and up here that gave continuation. I love how they inside 5 and up and tries to put in this extension shooting star and then immediately breaks it after. That's so bullish. The term that we've been using in the VTF to describe this type of situation recently is just that it's well bid. This candle here should lead to a pullback, and they're just holding this bid in and not letting the stock pull back. Once that new high comes in, they break a shooting star high like that. A lot of times it's off to the races. So again, it really just comes down to the game plan that you had created for yourself, Austin, before the market opened. If you had a game plan that said that you're supposed to be involved in Micron today, that triggers a certain price point or whatever, you should be taking the trade. My game plan was the opposite. My game plan was to avoid these stocks entirely, so I'm not upset that I missed the move. That Global Foundries call was still just such a sick call. From Roberts. Pullback on the SPY really scared me. Stayed disciplined with my trailing rules. From the 5-minute on NVIDIA long. Okay. Good job you were involved in that. 71.40. 9.55 on that pivot. Nice. 175. Awesome. Hey, Robert, that's a great job. Great job on that NVIDIA. I don't think that's an easy trade. You really had to. It's a pretty tenacious move there. Is probably the best way I think to kind of describe it. This report just looks so bad to me. I actually don't even hate this short if you shorted off the 9:45 a.m. high. But you got to respect your stop loss, right? You get out of this position if this breaks, if you took that short. Taking the opposite side of the trade, like going long off this pivot, would be very impressive. Because you're really banking on this being a higher low that leads to a gap fill, and you're saying, hey, yeah, this report looked terrible, but it's trading up, so I'm sticking with it. I'm going for it. And that's just a great job if you're able to capture that. Yeah, I agree with you. Global Foundries, like when you called that out and I saw that, I was like, oh, this looks fantastic. It looked so ready technically. I love this. Very strong stock, technical pullback into the equilibrium zone. It's trying to pivot and work its way up. Gives you that inside day. You do have NVIDIA as a potential catalyst there. Inside and up, happening right off the open with good early volume on this thing. Good early momentum. Really, really good trade if anybody was able to catch it. Yeah, and Geoff just providing some good fundamental information. Global Foundries is definitely a little bit of a different company than like an AMD or an NVIDIA, just as far as their business. What else, guys? Anybody else have anything, or are we just all wishing we were in Jackson Hole? I know I wish I was in Jackson Hole. Can't wait to get out there. It's beautiful out there this time of the year too. Should be back in October. Nothing? Short one today? I don't mind doing a short one. I'm pretty beat. All right, short one. Then guess we'll wrap it up. So yeah, good job today as a team. You know, good communication. Getting through these kind of summer doldrums here a little bit. Tomorrow should be a little bit more exciting, especially for a Friday. We'll see what Jerome says. We'll see how this market moves. So have a great night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.